I am Anna. Welcome to today's message. Today's message is Find Your Courage from 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit, not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. This verse is a message to have courage, and it is given to us as a gift from God. Now, yesterday, if you watched my video message, you heard me speak about betrayal. I told you that I have had plenty of that in my life. Now, today, I believe that God was preparing me for this video. I had a terrible night. I barely was able to sleep. And I woke up with a message on my mind 5 or 6 times during the night. It's the same message that I shared on the same day last year. One that I had at that time been afraid to share. But because I am faithful and a good servant, I followed the given path, and I was loyal to the God who saved me. I am going to share that story with you again today. It was a very hard story to tell. One of the hardest things in my life to forgive. But I ended a cycle. And that cycle, it was brought by no less than the grace of God. Not just for myself, but a few short months later, after telling my story, a woman came to me to tell me that for many years, longer than I had held mine, she had hidden hers. And she was coming to me because she found courage in what I said and what she heard in my video. She was 83 years old. Now, if you're among the faint of heart, well, maybe you won't want to listen to this. It's not a very fun story. But I want you to hear it. Because the person that you see today is not the person that I used to be. I've been transformed in a miraculous way by God, and I want the whole world to know. So if you like to hear stories about those who beat the odds, well, you stay tuned in. This is a story of the mighty hand of God that redeemed one of the most broken souls, mine. When I was 17, I was sexually assaulted. Not by someone that I was on a date with, not by someone I barely knew. The rapist was a person very well known to my family, a relative. And he told me if I said anything, I'd be called mental, a liar, maybe even crazy. He said they wouldn't believe me because, he was so cunning that he lived on lies. He had become so good at them, at manipulating, that he could do it straight-faced without even having emotion. And I'd watched him do it many times already. He had control and he knew it. He was in the position to humiliate me. Somehow I got the courage to tell my family that was around me. I told them what happened. What happened next is nothing short of a cover-up. My grandmother sat in the bathroom while I was asked to take a bath. Well, she bravely asked me, did he use anything? She knew I was being truthful, but she couldn't tell me. A couple of days later, she asked me when we were alone in the kitchen and promised to get me help and to get me home to my parents. She said she knew. She knew that I was being truthful, but she could not help me. They lied to my mother and, as promised, called me a liar, mental, and crazy, saying I was making up a story. I left there 4 excruciating days later, and I came home after a barrage of harassment and evil looks. My grandfather and my uncle, who had committed the crime, continuing to humiliate me. It was my grandmother who protected me during that time, even against her own family. But the anguish did not stop there. When I told my family what happened when I got home, I was met with, well, they said it wasn't true. They had told my mother I was needy and made up a story to get attention. They had done their best to hide it, and they were successful. Now, when you're raped, it introduces cynicism and hate to your life. There's nothing as tragic as this. You go from not knowing what to do to believing absolutely nothing. You're angry, you're untrusting, you're vulnerable, and you've been mistreated. Your mind, your body, and truly your soul become numb. Nobody helped me. I went silent about it to avoid more trauma, which is exactly what happens to more than 60% of the people who are raped. Now, when my uncle died, I tried hard to have some kind of sympathy, some kind of remorse for my mother. but I just couldn't. I hated him. Still. And it took all I had to say to her, I am sorry that you lost this person. But in truth, I didn't mean one bit of it. In fact, I was actually glad that he was dead, as mean as that sounds. Because it meant I didn't ever have to believe that he could hold that over my head ever again. I knew he was arriving to meet the face of God and he would receive his judgment. By then, I had been married twice. I had had 2 children with my second husband, and I was protecting them fiercely. Because I knew what it felt like to not be protected. I was able to forgive him and anyone else in my family who covered it up. Mostly because my husband at the time had taught me love. He was giving and he was kind to me. He encouraged me to attend therapy, and I learned to live my life a little better than before. I mostly learned to lean on and trust God. Now, for many years, I had stayed silent about this one act of another human that nearly cost me my life. If you're good at math, it was about 38 years. But since God gave me a calling, since I began my journey, I've thought many times about the purpose of why I told this story and why I continue to tell it. Because I know some people in my family won't want me to tell it at all. But what if all of this is for greater good? How many times have you found that most of the pain in your life, if you didn't stay in it, led you to growth? What if it's about giving more, to be more, to share more? What if the pain that you go through is so that you can be a teacher and tell other people about what happened and be courageous about it? What if it happened to me so that others can learn from me, so they don't have to live in a silent hell until they're 55 years old? You see, the day I came home from there, I was pretty set on ending my life. And in the face of feeling humiliated, just another thing that would come up perhaps as a surprise to many. Because everyone who knows me knows that I'm smiling and I'm joyful. I'm rarely sad. I'm loving and giving, and I barely say a harsh word. I'm joyfully encouraging everyone around me. I take care of those I love. But maybe perhaps that's because I'm the one who knows what it feels like to feel unloved and never wants anyone else to feel that way. Perhaps because somewhere in my heart, in my soul, I knew that God had a better plan for me. I maybe didn't understand it then, but I sure do now. This is a calling on my life. It is a journey to be a voice for those who can't find the courage to speak. A story created by villains who tried to destroy me. And I will live the remainder of my life working hard to make a difference in this world for those who have yet to share their stories. And despite the pain of my story that can't be unlived, when faced with the struggles, you have to face the courage. And I can tell you that with courage, that will never be relived in your mind. You will never be called a liar, mental, or crazy when I know about it because, well, I can see, and you are not alone. I will face injustice to make sure that you feel seen and heard and worthy of love. You need to know that you're enough, that there is unconditional love in the face of struggle through Christ, that the impossible can be achieved when God is your Father. And when you are led by Christ, when your mission is to love unconditionally, you can't help but imagine what might happen if everyone came together to talk about the evil among us, about the evil that tries to silence us. For those of us brave enough to have something to say and not being afraid to do that, we will have a call to challenge and treat others who are treated poorly and with indignity with love. Those of us with a belief that speaking the truth is right have a responsibility to make the path easier for someone else, to encourage others to know that defeat is not an option, it is only a word. That courage comes from those who dare to challenge the evil in the world, those who dare to free themselves through God's unconditional love. You see, I'm not more bright, bold, or brilliant than anyone else. I am not more accomplished. I'm not more qualified. I'm not more intelligent, but I am made stronger in the face of fear because I have a God who has covered me in his armor. And I'm willing to do difficult things because God gave me a voice to share. He has asked me to do hard things because He desires to shape my character, because He called me to a greater dependence on Him, because He taught me to trust in His strength and plan, even when I was weak, when I was uncertain, and I felt unwanted. Because recognizing Christ's power turned my suffering into glory and has saved at least one more person that I know of. Because I am made perfect in God's unconditional love, and because in Him I am grace, I've been able to share and save others. My friends, in a world where you could be anything, choose to be love. Love is the answer. If this resonated with you, please like and share my post. If you have a question for Dear Anna, please send it to my direct message on Facebook. Questions are answered anonymously. And thank you for your donations to My Divine Mission and for helping me to keep my messages alive. I'll see you next time.